Ever wish you could, like, I don't know, just peek into the past, see how people lived, what their world was like, way back when?
Yeah.
Well, today, we've got something pretty close. We're diving into the Doomsday Book.
Oh, wow.
It's basically a snapshot of England from 1086.
1086.
Yeah, it's so detailed it even counted the pigs.
It counted the what?
The pigs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. What's fascinating about the Doomsday Book is its purpose. So William the Conqueror, right? Fresh off his victory at Hastings, he needed a way to really solidify his power, like who owed him taxes, who owed him troops,
Right.
how to establish this new Norman order, in this land that he just conquered.
Yeah. So it wasn't just some random census.
Oh, no.
This was a power move.
Absolutely.
Like mapping out his new kingdom.
Precisely. And the scale of this project?
Just huge.
It's incredible. It covered most of England, recording details on land ownership, resources, livestock,
Wow.
across 13,000 places and 30,000 manors. Imagine the effort involved in collecting all that data back then in the 11th century.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
No cars, no phones,
Right.
just horses and parchment.
It's mind-boggling. So how did they actually carry out this massive survey?
Well, they sent out commissioners across the country, but conducting these sworn inquests, they'd interview landowners, tenants, witnesses, demanding accurate information under oath.
Under oath?
Yeah, they wanted to know everything. How much land you had, how many plows you used,
Wow.
how many villagers lived on your manor, even how many fish ponds you owned.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine anyone trying to pull a fast one on those commissioners.
No, I don't think so either.
It sounds pretty intimidating.
It was very serious business. And the level of detail, astonishing. They even noted things like the number of beehives. Beehives, which gives us a glimpse into the types of crops they were growing and the role of honey in their diet and economy.
That's so interesting. It really is like looking through a window into their daily lives, isn't it?
It is.
What did all this data reveal about English society at the time?
Well, one of the most significant findings, I think, was the extent to which Norman lords now dominated land ownership. The Doomsday Book confirmed that the old Anglo-Saxon aristocracy, largely replaced by William's followers. The transfer of wealth and power is evident on, every page.
So it painted a clear picture of this new social order that William had established.
Exactly. It provided valuable insights into the social structure, the economic landscape of 11th century England. We learned that around 90% of the population lived outside of cities, and about 3/4 of them were serfs. Tied to the land, very limited freedoms.
It's a stark reminder of the vast inequalities that existed in medieval society. Was there any pushback, though, against this Norman takeover? Did anyone try to challenge William's authority?
There's no record of major uprisings directly sparked by the Doomsday Book itself. But you have to remember, this was a time of enormous upheaval. The Norman conquest reshaped the political and social landscape.
Right.
And while the Doomsday Book might not have been the sole catalyst for rebellion, it certainly would have contributed to a sense of resentment, resistance among those who had lost their land and their status.
Yeah, it's like, adding insult to injury. First, you lose everything.
Exactly.
Then you have to meticulously document it all.
For your new overlords, right. And the Doomsday Book's meticulous detail, its emphasis on taxation, on control, it would have been a constant reminder of that loss.
It makes you wonder if William anticipated that level of resentment. Was he concerned about potential rebellions?
It's hard to say for sure what was going through his mind, but he was a shrewd, calculating ruler. He understood the importance of maintaining control.
Right.
The Doomsday Book, for all its practical applications, it was also a tool of power, a way to assert his dominance.
Make sure that his new order prevailed.
Absolutely.
So he gets this incredible amount of data.
Right.
Did he actually get to use it? What happened after the Doomsday Book was completed?
Well, there's a bit of irony here.
Oh.
William actually died in 1087, just a year after the survey was finished.
Wow.
So while he was the driving force behind it, he didn't get much time to reap the benefits.
What a twist. So what happened to the Doomsday Book after William's death?
Well, it became a crucial tool for his successors. They used it to administer justice, settle land disputes, levy taxes, even plan military campaigns. It became the ultimate authority on land ownership in England.
Wow.
And remained so for centuries.
It's amazing to think that a document created almost 1,000 years ago could still be relevant today. So how is it being used in modern times?
Well, it's still a legal document for land titles in England, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Imagine tracing your property rights back to an entry in the Doomsday Book.
That's incredible. It's like holding a piece of history in your hands.
It really is a testament to its enduring legacy, and it's also an invaluable resource for historians, genealogists, anyone interested in understanding England's past. It's like a time capsule, offering a glimpse into the lives of ordinary people. We learn about their occupations, their livestock, even the names of their villages.
We've talked about the big picture impact, but what about those little details that make the Doomsday Book so captivating?
Well, for instance, we learned that there were over 100 different occupations listed from blacksmiths and carpenters to millers and beekeepers. It challenges that notion that medieval England was just a simple agrarian society.
100 different occupations. That's surprisingly diverse. What else can we learn from those details?
Well, the Doomsday Book meticulously records the types of crops grown, the number of plow teams, and even the presence of vineyards. It might surprise you to learn that viticulture was quite common in England during the Roman period, and it continued even after the Norman conquest.
Vineyards in England. You don't hear about that too often.
It's just one of the many surprises hidden within the pages of the Doomsday Book. And let's not forget the animals. We learned about the distribution of oxen, cows, pigs, sheep, even goats across the country. We can even find out how many pigs were living in Yorkshire in 1086.
I had no idea there was so much information packed into this book. Why so much emphasis on animals?
Well, livestock was a crucial part of medieval economy, remember? They provided food, wool, leather, and labor. By documenting animal populations, William could assess the wealth of his kingdom and ensure that he was collecting the appropriate taxes.
Ah, there's that taxman again, always lurking in the background. But it makes sense. To effectively rule a kingdom, you need to know what you're working with.
Exactly. The Doomsday Book wasn't just about control. It was about understanding the resources of the land and using that information to manage and govern effectively.
Speaking of understanding, I understand there's been some scholarly debate over the Doomsday Book's true purpose. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure, while some historians have focused on its role as a financial tool for William to maximize tax revenue, others argue that its primary function was to establish a clear and legally binding system of Norman-style feudalism.
So was it all about money or all about control?
Yeah.
Or maybe a bit of both?
It's likely a combination of factors. The beauty of the Doomsday Book is that it served multiple purposes simultaneously. It was a financial tool, a legal document, a political statement, and a historical record all rolled into one.
It's a multifaceted masterpiece of medieval bureaucracy.
Indeed. And it continues to fascinate and intrigue historians to this day. New research is constantly emerging, offering fresh perspectives on this remarkable document. For example, a recent study by a team at Oxford University shed new light on the incredible speed and efficiency with which the Doomsday Book was created. They found that the first draft was completed in just 100 days.
100 days? That's astonishing.
It speaks to the organizational skills and determination of those medieval scribes and commissioners. Imagine the pressure they must have been under to complete such a monumental task in such a short time frame.
They were like the data-crunching superheroes of their time. But they weren't starting from scratch, were they? Didn't they have some earlier surveys to draw on?
That's true. Several English counties had been surveyed previously, and William likely used those records as a model for the Doomsday Book. It was more like a massive upgrade to an existing system, but still incredibly impressive.
So he built upon what was already there, taking it to a whole new level. But the Doomsday Book didn't completely replace those earlier surveys, did?
That's right. They continued to be used alongside the Doomsday Book for various administrative purposes. It's like having multiple backups of your most important files, always a good idea, especially in the 11th century.
Speaking of backups, how has the Doomsday Book been preserved over the centuries?
The original volumes have been carefully rebound and are now housed in the National Archives, treated with the utmost care and respect.
Like precious relics from a bygone era.
Exactly. But the story doesn't end there. In the 1990s, a team of researchers at the University of Hull undertook the massive task of digitizing the Doomsday Book, making it accessible to a wider audience.
That's fantastic, but I imagine even a digitized version would be pretty daunting to navigate, right?
Yeah.
All that Latin and medieval terminology.
That's where the Open Doomsday website comes in. It's been designed to be user-friendly and intuitive, even for those who aren't familiar with medieval history or Latin.
So even I could find my way around.
Absolutely. You can explore maps, search for specific names or places, and even translate Latin terms into modern English. It's like having a personal guide to the Doomsday Book right at your fingertips.
It's amazing to think that a document created nearly 1,000 years ago can now be accessed by anyone with an internet connection. But what about the name itself? It wasn't originally called Doomsday, was it?
You're right. That name didn't appear until almost 100 years later in a document from 1179 called the Dialogue of the Exchequer.
So where did that ominous name come from?
It was a reference to the Last Judgment, the idea that the book's pronouncements on land ownership were final and unavoidable, just like divine judgment.
Okay, I get it. It makes sense in a dramatic kind of way.
Yeah.
But all this talk about judgment and finality makes me wonder, was there any pushback against the Doomsday Book? Did anyone try to challenge its authority?
There's no record of any major uprisings or rebellions directly sparked by the Doomsday Book. But remember, this was a time of significant social and political upheaval. The Norman conquest had completely reshaped English society. I bet there were plenty of people who weren't exactly thrilled with the new order.
Right. I can imagine there was a lot of resentment simmering beneath the surface.
Absolutely. The Doomsday Book likely fueled resentment among some Anglo-Saxons who had lost land and power. It's a reminder that even seemingly objective data can be a tool for asserting dominance and control.
It's fascinating how a book about taxes and land ownership, could become such a powerful symbol.
Yeah, the Doomsday Book's impact, it goes beyond just the practicalities of administration. It really played a role in shaping English identity and national consciousness. Think about it, for the first time, there was this comprehensive record of England, its people, its land, all its resources. It created a sense of unity, of shared history that hadn't existed in quite the same way before.
So it wasn't just about William asserting his power.
Right.
It was also about creating this sense of England as a unified entity.
Exactly. And that sense of shared identity forged in the aftermath of the Norman conquest has resonated through the centuries. Of course, there were regional identities and a sense of shared Anglo-Saxon heritage, before the Normans arrived. But the Doomsday Book, with its meticulous documentation of the entire country, really helped to solidify a more unified national identity.
It's like taking a giant family portrait,
Yeah.
capturing everyone, from the wealthiest lord to the humblest peasant under one banner.
That's a great way to put it. And that image of a unified England, as depicted in the Doomsday Book, has been invoked time and again throughout history, often to promote national unity or justify political agendas.
So it's a document that's been used and interpreted in many different ways over the centuries. It makes you wonder what William the Conqueror would make of the fact that his grand survey is now accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
That's a fascinating question. He was a man who understood the power of information and control. Part of me thinks he might be a bit surprised, perhaps even a little disconcerted by the idea of his carefully compiled data being so freely available.
But maybe another part of him would be pleased that his legacy continues to intrigue and inspire people centuries later.
Perhaps you're right. After all, who wouldn't want their work to be admired and studied for generations to come?
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into the Doomsday Book. From its origins as a tool of Norman power, to its enduring legacy as a historical treasure, and even a legal document still in use today, it's been an incredible journey.
It's remarkable how a single document can offer such a rich and multifaceted window into the past.
If someone wanted to explore the Doomsday Book for themselves, where would they even begin?
The Open Doomsday website is a fantastic resource. You can explore maps, search for specific names or places, and even translate those Latin terms into modern English. It's like having a personal guide to the Doomsday Book right at your fingertips.
I know I'm going to be spending some time on that website. It sounds like an incredible resource. Any final thoughts on the Doomsday Book before we wrap up?
The Doomsday Book reminds us that the past is full of surprises and that there's always more to learn and explore. It's a testament to human ingenuity and the power of information, and it challenges us to think critically about how data is collected, used, and interpreted both in the past and in our own time.
Well said. The Doomsday Book is a reminder that history is not just a collection of dates and names. It's a story, a tapestry woven from countless individual lives and experiences. And thanks to this remarkable document, we can catch a glimpse of that story, connect with those who came before us, and gain a deeper understanding of our own place in the world.
Beautifully put.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Doomsday Book. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep those questions coming.